Good evening and welcome to the Beaufort County Board of Education Business Meeting of June 11, 2024. We will have a quorum in just about 3 minutes. So right now we can just do informational uh, uh, work. We cannot obviously have any votes. So I'll go ahead and read the agenda for tonight. This meeting is being conducted via hybrid video conferencing and is being live streamed by the county channel. In accordance with the safety and security guidelines, bags, backpacks, and purses are prohibited by the public at the Beaufort County Board of Education meetings. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker on Beaufort County School District and school-related topics. Citizens wishing to participate in public comments can do so in person or via phone. There are 2 scheduled public comment forum times during each board meeting. The first is a 30-minute session near the beginning of the meeting, limited to topics on the board meeting agenda. The second is a 15-minute session, which takes place prior to adjournment, but no later than 9 p.m. Requests to participate in public comments via phone will be accepted via email the day of the meeting from 5 to 5:30 p.m. for the first time frame and from 6 to 6:30 p.m. for the second opportunity. Requests should include the speaker's name, phone number, as well as topic, and must be emailed to the Executive Administrative Assistant to the Board, Robin with a Y, Cushingberry, at robin.cushingberry@beaufort.k12.sc.us. Requesters will subsequently receive a phone call during their respective public forum time and should be ready to speak. Citizens desiring to participate in person must fill out a public comment card that can be obtained from the board clerk upon arrival. In the event the board is not finished addressing all the items listed on tonight's agenda, the board will reconvene tomorrow night, June 12th at 6 p.m. to finish the agenda items. We have in person Victor Ney, Angela Middleton, Dick Geyer, and myself. We have Carlton Dallas online, and we are waiting Ingrid Boatwright's arrival. So we'll just pause, and then we will continue on. So could the person on the iPhone identify themselves? Have Ingrid Boatwright present now. So we have a quorum of 6, an iPhone user.
William Smith is the iPhone user.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we now have 7 present either in person or by Zoom or phone. All right. So we now need a motion to go into executive session.
Madam Chair, I move that we go into executive session for the following matters. Employment matter, personnel ratification report pursuant to South Carolina Code annotated section 30-470A1. Adult education report pursuant to South Carolina Code annotated section 30-4-40A4 pursuant to South Carolina Code annotated section 30-4-70A2. Receipt of legal advice regarding settled legal claims and pending legal claim covered by the attorney-client privilege pursuant to South Carolina Code annotated section 30-470A2. Discussion of proposed amendment number 25 with Thompson Turner Construction for the Beaufort High School BHS 2023 referendum safety and security scope pursuant to South Carolina Code annotated section 30-4-70A2.
Okay, thank you, Colonel Geyer. So the motion was made by Secretary Middleton and second by Vice Chair Geyer. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Online, we have Mr. Dallas first and then Mr. Smith.
Aye, Dallas.
Mr. Smith?
I was abstain.
Okay, thank you. All right, the motion carries 6-0-1. The one abstention is Mr. Smith. So we'll now go into the executive session in conference room E. Good evening and welcome to the Beaufort County Board of Education Business Meeting of June 11, 2024. The board was just in executive session and we are now back in public session, so we will call the meeting to order again. Do we have any action as necessary or appropriate regarding the matters discussed in executive session, Madam Secretary?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. We have four motions. The first motion is, Madam Chair, I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendations for employment listed on the May 1st, May 31st, 2024 Personnel Ratification Report.
Do we have a second? Okay, second by Ms. Boatright. Any discussion? So all those in favor in the room, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
And then we'll go online and we'll go alphabetically. So we'll have Dallas and then Hay.
Dallas, aye.
Hey, aye.
Thank you. So the motion carries unanimously and we have District 7 seat open. So there's 10-0.
Madam Chair, I move we accept the superintendent's recommendation to employ Carlos D. Williams as principal of Well Branch Elementary School.
Second that motion.
Second.
I'll second that. I will second that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Dallas, aye.
Online,
Hey, aye.
everybody said yes in the room? Okay. So the motion carries unanimously.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education approve amendment number 25 with Thompson Turner Construction for the Beaufort High School 2023 referendum safety and security scope based on the guaranteed maximum price GMP of
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gordon. We got a second already. Thank you, though, Mr. Dallas. Ms. Gordon seconded it.
She's
Any
quick.
discussion? Mr. Smith?
Just into relations to this motion, this is basically supported by referendum. Is that correct?
2023 referendum.
We'll have Robert come to the microphone.
Yes, sir. This is funded by the 2023 referendum.
And just tell the public the few things that it's funding.
So this is the safety and security scope, which involves additional cameras in parking lots, athletic facilities, and then some door hardware upgrades.
Thank you. All right,
Madam Chair, that concludes all of our motions.
we got to vote.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. Anything else?
No,
No.
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. So all in favor, please raise your hand that are present. Aye.
Aye.
Online?
Dallas, aye.
Hey, aye.
All right, thank you. So that's also approved unanimously by 10. Thank you. Secretary Middleton. Next up, we need approval of the agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second by
Second.
Mr. Campbell. Any okay. Late to the party, Dallas. Sorry. Mr. Campbell already did it. All right. Thank you, though, for your efforts. All those that would like to approve the agenda in the room, please say aye. Aye. Online
Dallas, aye.
Hey, aye.
and perfect. All right. That's the agenda's approved 10-0. We will now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Please be seated. The media was properly notified. Next on our agenda, we have our points of celebration. Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Dr. Gwads. This evening, points of celebration, we begin with the Character Education Student of the Month of March. Our character education program was formed to support parents' efforts to develop good character in their children. And tonight, we're celebrating the Character Education Student of the Month exhibiting the character trait of forgiveness. Forgiveness is defined as to stop feeling anger towards someone who has done something wrong and to stop blaming. April's Student of the Month for Northern Beaufort County is Layla Figueroa Hercules, a fourth grade student from Joseph Shanklin Elementary School. And here to introduce Layla is Principal Liz Rivera.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. I'm very excited to be here this evening with Layla, one of our fourth grade Sand Dollar scholars. She is a true picture of forgiveness at Joseph Shanklin Elementary School. When her classmates nominated her, they named specific examples where Layla had a forgiving nature. She wanted to continue the harmony in the classroom, and she will quickly forgive her friends so that they continue to learn, lead, and make a difference at Joseph Shanklin Elementary School. We are very, very proud to have Layla as one of our Sand Dollar scholars. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Next will be the 2024-2025 Teachers of the Year and Support Staff of the Year. This is one of our favorite points of celebration, and tonight we have the honor of recognizing each of our school's teachers and support staff of the year. The professionals that we recognize tonight were selected by their peers, which makes their awards even more meaningful. On behalf of the district, we support each of you and appreciate your dedication providing excellent educational opportunities to our students. The 2024-2025 Teacher of the Year and Support Staff of the Year for the following schools. I will move through that list, announcing the name of the school and announcing Teacher of the Year and Support Staff of the Year. We may have some that might be here in the audience. If any of them are here, if they would please stand. Others we're recognizing them this evening and they may be watching online. So we'll begin with Adult Education. Teacher of the Year is Lois Lewis and Support Staff of the Year is Creighton Weir. Battery Creek High School, Teacher of the Year is John Rutherford. Support Staff of the Year is Gabriel Heath. At Beaufort Elementary, Teacher of the Year is Marianne Blake. Support Staff of the Year, Joanna May. At Beaufort High, Teacher of the Year, Seth Canoza. Support Staff of the Year, Helen Hayward Smokes. Beaufort Jasper Academy for Career Excellence, Teacher of the Year is Joe Johnson. And Support Staff of the Year is Vanessa Ruiz. At Beaufort Middle, Teacher of the Year is Kayla Felix. Support Staff of the Year is Thomas Orr. Bluffton Elementary and ECC, the Teacher of the Year is Laura Van Horn. And Support Staff of the Year is Linda Jenkins. At Beaufort High, Teacher of the Year is Michelle Mosteler. And Support Staff of the Year is Keisha Burns. At Bluffton Middle, the Teacher of the Year is Victoria Raza. Support Staff of the Year is Laura Van Houten. Broad River Elementary, Teacher of the Year is Michelle Johnston. Support Staff of the Year is Doreen Scott. At Coosa Elementary, Teacher of the Year is Cherie Mack. Support Staff of the Year is Latron Holmes. At H.E. McCracken Middle, the Teacher of the Year is Christopher Johnson. Support Staff of the Year is Desiree Ryan. At Hilton Head Early Childhood Center, Teacher of the Year is Anna Reese. Support Staff of the Year is April Blackman. Hilton Head Island High School, Teacher of the Year is Jeremy Willard. Support Staff of the Year is Nina Cortez. At Hilton Head Island IB Elementary, Teacher of the Year is Jill Miranda Fernandez. And Support Staff of the Year is Susie Dolan. Hilton Head Island Middle, Teacher of the Year is Timothy Husing. Support Staff of the Year is Luimar Mora Estrada. At Hilton Head Island School for Creative Arts, the Teacher of the Year is Melanie Willis, who actually teaches at Defusky Elementary. And Support Staff of the Year is Alina Johnson. At Joseph S. Shanklin Elementary, the Teacher of the Year is Milisali Rivera Jurabe. And Support Staff of the Year is Paola Zinbiden. Ladies Island Elementary, Teacher of the Year is Cinderella Shaw. Support Staff of the Year is Shirley Sanders. Ladies Island Middle, the teacher of the year is Dr. Karen Parker, and support staff of the year is Christina Kim. May River High, the teacher of the year is Kimberly Schmidt. Support staff of the year is Jennifer Jones Brown. At Michael C. Riley Elementary, the teacher of the year is Roxanne O'Connor, and support staff of the year is Valerie Elliott. At Mossy Oaks Elementary, the teacher of the year is Amber Clark, and support staff of the year is Julie Prussia. At Okatee Elementary, teacher of the year is Virginia Halix. Support staff of the year is Karen Sirico. At Port Royal Elementary, the teacher of the year is Grace Heiss, and support staff of the year is Holly Mayrer. Pritchardville Elementary, the teacher of the year is Summer Williamson, and support staff of the year is Joe Rowe. At Red Cedar Elementary, the teacher of the year is Kathleen Ellis, and the support staff of the year is Renee Lukasavage. At River Ridge Academy, the teacher of the year is Kimberly Rios, and support staff of the year is Brandy Chitkowski. At Robert Smalls Leadership Academy, the teacher of the year is Sydney Harner, and the support staff of the year is Raquel Cardenas Hernandez. St. Helena Elementary, teacher of the year is Shirley Close, and support staff of the year is Jacqueline Brown Fields. At Will Branch Early College High School, the teacher of the year is Jessica Russell, and support staff of the year is Jagala Albany. At Will Branch Elementary and Davis Early Childhood Center, the teacher of the year is Julianne Cooper, and the support staff of the year is Jane Lowry. At Will Branch Middle, the teacher of the year is Lynn Garrett, and support staff of the year is Bernard Reed. Transportation Department support staff of the year is Kevin Level, Assistant Director. At Office of Early Childhood Education, support staff of the year is Mary Beth Christensen, Office Manager. The District Office, Megan Boyle, Campus Finance Specialist and Instructional Services Department. Induction Teacher of the Year is Isabel Smith, Will Branch Early College High School. So give them a quick round of applause. We're exceptionally proud of each of our Teachers of the Year and Support Staff of the Year.
And if any of you are here in the audience, could you just stand so we can recognize you? No.
Okay.
Enjoying summer vacation,
Yep,
maybe.
probably. Whale Branch Early College High School Girls Track State Champions is up next. Sounds like they're here in the audience.
Yeah.
During this past school year, Whale Branch Early College High School girls track team earned a three-peat as they were crowned the 2024 Class A state champions for the third year in a row. And here to tell us more about this accomplishment is Whale Branch Early College Principal, Davina Coleman. And I would ask them to come forward, please. You're going to bring them forward, Ms. Coleman?
Yep.
Thank you.
Come on, yeah. So I'm actually going to turn this honor over to our track coach, our head track coach, who is the three-peat track coach of the year for us at Well Branch, Coach Terachuk.
Again, my name is Brad Terachuk, and first of all, I'd like to thank you for having us here, obviously for the third time, all in part to these young ladies behind me. Not only were they three-peat champions, they actually scored the most points on the girls' side of any of the classifications this year. They ended up setting 8 school records this year, and 6 of those were actually set at the state meet. Not only that, we had a young lady who won not her first, her second, or third, but her 4th consecutive 100-meter hurdles title. So she was a 4-time defending champion. She not only won 4 times in a row, but she actually ran the fastest time in 1A history. And I am glad to be up here presenting them to you. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to present all of them to you. Also, our valedictorian over here, Ayana Reed Wright. Sophomore, Makima Adams. Senior, Talasia Bartley, who is our hurler. Senior Faith Eugene, Senior Destiny Pryor, and her sister, Lamar Pryor. At this time, if we can actually have Mr. Campbell come up here. We know that Mr. Campbell, for us, has supported us throughout the years. I can remember going all the way back to 2012 when we actually won the boys title. He was there at 12 o'clock in the morning to greet all of our boys coming back in. And we would actually like to present Mr. Campbell with not just a boys medal, but also our girls medals.
Very nice.
And then actually, before you go, Mr. Campbell, I'm gonna keep you up here one quick second. They don't know this yet, but I'm gonna bring up three of my young ladies who are part of my 4x1 team. They were just actually named as the very first All-Americans at Willow Branch Early College High School for the 4x1. They ran not only the best time for 1A, but they actually ran the, again, top time in 1A history. And the National Track and Field Association, Coach Association has actually recognized them with All-American status. And so I'm gonna have Mr. Campbell help me present those to my 4x1 members.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And this is Craig Spain too. So thank you once again for it. We really do appreciate all the support that you guys gave us. They had an incredible year and I was just happy enough to be there with them. Thank you.
Ladies, you come back this way. We'll all take a, Mr. Campbell, come stay here for a picture. You got a state championship medal. Come on.
Yeah.
If we face this way. Yep. Right here. Candace is gonna take she's gonna take the picture, so. Wait, you got one more there. Got one more.
Come on.
All right. Congratulations. Nothing like saving your peak performance to your state championship meet, right?
That's right.
And I thought Mr. Campbell was going to do hurdles out here too. Next item is Middle School Coaches Choice Coach of the Year. Last month, we recognized Middle School Athletic Coaches of the Year for Southern Beaufort County, and tonight we're recognizing those from Northern Beaufort County. And here to introduce the Coaches Choice Coach of the Year is District Athletic Director, Mr. Carlos Cave. Dr. Carlos Cave just received his doctorate as well.
Congratulations.
Good afternoon. Again, it is indeed an honor to stand before you to recognize our spring sports coaches of the year for North of the Broad. And we'll begin with our first, Mr. Jose Martinez, 2024, Boys Soccer Coaches Choice of the Year from Robert Smalls Leadership Academy. Our 2024 Girls Softball Coach's Choice Coach of the Year from Ladies Island Middle, Ms. Damika Taylor.
Congratulations.
Our 2024 Girls Track and Field Coach's Choice of the Year from Well Branch Middle, Dr. Tamika Ford.
Congratulations.
And our 2024 Boys Track and Field Coach's Choice of the Year from Beaufort Middle, Janie Williams. Thank you.
That concludes our points of celebrations.
Thank you. Next up are our first public comments, and the first public comments are limited to topics on the board meeting agenda. We have a one that was submitted, but it is not on the agenda. So Jim Miller, you're welcome to speak at our second public comments because those are not limited to agenda items. Okay, all right. So we'll put you in that opportunity and we'll call on you then. We have no public comments remotely. Next up is the chair report. The Board of Education wants to congratulate our high school graduates and their families. We had 6 high schools have their graduation ceremonies last week, and the weather held out for all of those ceremonies. Each ceremony was very nice and unique, and we had very excellent board attendance at the ceremonies. As board chair, I've received multiple compliments about the ceremonies. So congratulations to the graduates, and we wish you all well in the future, whatever that may entail for you. And we hope that you all have a very safe and enjoyable summer. Also last week, the Beaufort Chamber of Commerce sponsored their annual legislative delegation reception, and I believe there were 4 of us that attended that. For the delegation legislators that were in attendance, we had Senators Chip Campson, Senator Tom Davis, Representatives Shannon Erickson, Michael Rivers, and Bill Hager. And I know of those board members that attended, a number of us got to speak with several of the legislators, which was really nice. I personally happened to just by chance sit next to Mrs. Campson and had a wonderful conversation with her. So it was very nice. Next up, we have our committee reports, and first reporting will be Operations Committee Chair Mr. Dallas, who is online. So please go ahead, Mr. Dallas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And is Mr. Otting in the room?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll give an overview, excuse me. And then if there are any particular questions, we'll ask Mr. Otting to come up. The Operations Committee met early in April 9th. Excuse me, hold on one second. Sorry about that. The Operations Committee met early in April the 9th to go over the list for the 5-year 8% plan. That plan has traditionally come in per board guidance at around 30 million. And so the initial submission was 48.8, and we wanted to make sure as this team was congealing, that we met the standards that have been in the past and tradition, barring any new developments that would happen. And thankfully, some new developments did happen. But then we met on May 14th, a regular operations meeting, and we realized that there would be some excess funding capacity, and that would allow us to take care of some items that were needed that had been planned, estimated to be over $15 million at that point in time. And so we called it back to 13 million. And we asked that that be looked at. And we then held a joint meeting with finance and also Brian Nurick, operations, to make sure that we were showing fiscal discipline and strategic prioritization. And the team came back in with a recommendation for $43,572,000 for our submission for 8%. And so that is the first item. There are detailed specifics included in the package by school, by category, by geography. And so if there are any questions, be happy to entertain those prior to making a motion at the appropriate time. And Mr. Otting is here to answer any questions as well.
Ms. Boatright.
I have several questions, but I'll take them one at a time. So,
Okay.
First question for Mr. Dallas. You said there was a joint finance and operations committee meeting. When was
Well,
that?
it was members of the finance committee and members of the operations committee. It was not an official meeting. We wanted to meet with the bond advisor to make sure we were not exceeding borrowing limits that would damage the credit rating of the school district. I don't remember the specific date. Sorry.
No, just clarification, because I didn't see that in the meeting list. There was in February, there was brought forward to the operations committee a proposal for a $5 million renovation of the district security and safety, particularly up front in the main entrance. And that at that time, a tremendous amount of information was presented, including 5 different options on how it could be financed, the different things, pros and cons, there were maps, and apparently that has never been brought forward to the full board. So I'm wondering why we didn't see that at the full board, why it just stopped in committee back in February. And Mr. Otting is raising.
I got this. So
Okay.
what was presented in February was the plan for the district office as a whole. It was the entire project was included renovating this building, replacing all the air conditioning, rearranging spaces throughout this building. That was not, and there were 5 options given, as you said. That was not moved forward from the operations committee. So at that point, it kind of stopped. The project that you have now in the 8% list is only the safety and security portion of that. So the original, the options that were given were pretty much do nothing or just repair the air conditioning, which I believe is around 18 million. There was the option of pay for it and do it all at once, which was approximately 20 million. And then there was an option of spreading it over several years, which was 23 million. So what you have in front of you today is a 5 million, which is a piece of that, which is, or that's a part of this, is just the safety and security portion of that package.
So when I'm looking at the presentation, there were 5 options. 3 of them talked about the timeline in which a renovation could occur.
Yes, ma'am.
2 of them did not. Option number 2 was to hybrid into smaller locations. And option number 3 was to build a new building. Those options, I think, should be at least discussed at the full board before we proceed in terms of how we're going to pay for the renovation of the office, because there's a lot of information. It's the presentation's wonderful. I think that, I can certainly email it to everybody on the board. But you laid out the pros of this office building. This building was Battery Creek High School, was built in 1971. It became the district office building. I'm getting this from your presentation. In 2009, it is 100,000 square feet. It hosts Right Choices. We have a lot of different things going on in this building. It has some challenges beyond what's in this proposal. This building is not particularly well laid out for a district office. I think the materials make it really challenging for technology, et cetera. But the primary concern I have is the location for my constituents is very subpar. I think that, we need to talk about, do we want to commit $5, $18, $22 million to renovating a 1971 abandoned high school? Or do we want to look at, if we have some extra money in the budget, as Mr. Dallas alluded to, what else could we do? For example, there are buildings on the market more middle of the district that we could purchase for $10 million that would have, office space, et cetera. So I'm hoping that before we make a decision on investing on the pace at which we'll renovate the district office, that the board have some discussion as to whether or not that's the right approach.
Okay. May I weigh in now?
Sure.
Okay, so Ms. Boatwright, I appreciate you bringing those points up, very salient and accurate in terms of some of the discussion points. I think what happened is actually the operations committee at that particular session listened. So as you noted and Mr. Otting noted, we went from mid-20s down to 5. And part of that discussion, if I recall correctly, and I'm a little hazy, but if I recall correctly, it also entailed, as you're seeing what we're recommending now, is a safety approach and those things that we believe are necessary that are sustainable, regardless of what the district does going forward. When it comes to actually positioning a building in the middle of the district, I think there are tremendous implications that would impact that long-term on the district. And so our strategic thinking was, let's move forward with some steps that will help our staff feel safe, comfortable while we maintain this building without sacrificing the ability to look at a potentially superior location as one or should one come along. So I think what the team tried to do was basically split the baby, so to speak, and do what's necessary short term, have those long-term discussion, deep discussion you're referring to in terms of permanent placement, but allow us to go forward as is. Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Boatwright.
And I can very much appreciate that, Mr. Dallas. I think, though, my understanding of the process would be that this should come out of operations as a recommendation to the full board to consider. What's coming out is it has apparently been considered, and now it is lumped in with the 8% projects, which is generally 8%, traditionally has been more in the $20 to $25 million range. In fact, we used to have a policy that kept it at 20 million, right? If I can remember correctly. But then that money is to be spent on facility maintenance and facility ideas. So to me, the process here, I think, in terms of taking this out of operations, not presenting it to the full board, not having a recommendation, and then adding it into our 8%, which is a different kind of process, I think cuts the board out of the discussion that could be had. I may end up agreeing with you that the $5 million for safety and security is the right way to go, but I don't feel that the board has had an opportunity to discuss it. And I have voiced this concern in the past. I don't think that decisions should be made in committee. Decisions should be recommended. The committee should do the deep work, get the information, and as you did, send, and I was at that February meeting, so I had some comments as well, but send staff back if there's additional information. When it's ready to be presented to the full board still engages with the decision. I could be wrong, but that has been my understanding, over the last 3.5 years as to how this the appropriate process coming out of committee.
All right, Mr. Smith is next.
And concerning this situation, first off, let me stop by saying that I'd like to give a kudos out to the operations committee for having you putting this on the agenda and making it a part of this discussion, because we do have staff here who we do have the obligation to make sure that the same way how we have those other 30 32 buildings safe, that this building here is safe as well. And that when we have stuff going on in this building here that is safe, that they are safe. Regardless to how we move on as a district, once again, it's our obligation to make sure that this building here is safe as well. With that being said, we discussed this at the operations committee. And if I remember correctly, there have been times where I've brought some of the similar sayings that my colleague have said. And I've been told, well, that discussion took place at the operations committee, that you can get it from there. And if there's a discussion that happens at operations committee that you want to see to move on, then you can ask the board chair to put that on the agenda as a topic. And if that's what you're asking for today, you do have that right to put this on as a topic. But when it was looked over with a fair scope, from my understanding from operations committee, they didn't think that this was the time, nor was the district ready to move in that direction. And that's why we trust the people who we put on these committees if so. And once again, I honestly think that they're moving in the right direction in terms of safety first, and the referendum was the title of it, was safety and concern, safety and safe. What is it? Safety and what is it? Safety was it not? Safety what?
Security.
Safety. There you go. Thank you. Safety and security concerns. So this directly correlates with that safety and security concerns piece. So therefore, I don't see why we would not move this forward. But if there's an underlying question or there's an underlying concern that we do have the right as board members to ask to have this on the agenda. And I think I do remember you saying that, and I do remember us discussing this at length at that agenda setting. At that committee meeting. So however, I just think that us talk about tackling or removing it from this list today or whatever was brought up for, I think that would not make some of my district employees happy. I think that once again it's our obligation. So I think we should move forward. And if we want to put it on the agenda to discuss further and get the information that Mr. Outing sent to the operations committee, then we can revisit that at that time. Thank you.
Mr. Kimball.
Say this. I think a lot of times we want to put things off. But when you're talking about security and safety for employees of this district, we have it at the schools, we have the same thing at the district office. And I would suggest that maybe down the road, because I won't be here next year, but I'm just saying this. Look at what we could do to have something maybe in middle part of the county, but right now, I think we should go forward with this. Thank you.
Chloe Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Safety should be our #1 priority as well when it comes to district personnel, people who work in this building every day, making sure that we can do what we need to do, schools do what they need to do. But if we're looking at funding and we're looking at where it's going to be, middle of the county here, I think that is also important, but not as important as safety and putting this building up to code to have you feel safe coming in here. We have our meetings here, but through the day, 7 o'clock till 6 o'clock, some of them are here till 8 o'clock at night. They should be safe. And I do agree we need to look middle of the road for the next district building if possible, so that our other constituents will be able to come to the board without having, hour and 15, hour 30 minutes to get here. So I would like to see us talk about this and get it moving now rather than later. Because next year, 2 years from now, we may be still talking about the same thing. And by then we could have had the building done. So I agree with Ms. Boatwright, and that we should look at doing something now. Thank you.
So I'd like to make a few comments. So as a representative for the Bluffton area, Pritchardville and Defusky Island, my constituents would also want to have our seat of the public school district office south of the Broad. That is where the growth has been. That is where the population is. And I represent my constituents, and so that is why I would say that. I think every single person on this board, wants our employees to be safe. Nobody here doesn't want them to be safe. The question is how much to invest in this building. This building was, as Ms. Boatwright brought out, built to be a school back, 50 plus years ago. So it's not going to be something that's going to be easy to, how should I say, make it become, a state of the art district building. It's not. I mean, I think it would require an enormous amount of money to do that. Just to, as Mr. Otting mentioned tonight, to make potentially changes to this building to make it usable for that and more modern would be about 23 million. But I believe if we were to build something from scratch, it probably would be, I don't know, in the order of 50 million or something. So is it an investment we want to make? I personally would say, no, it's not an investment we want to make. I do think we have to look at what the opportunities are. I know there are buildings, or at least a building south of the Broad, that would probably be excellent for a district office. That's priced, at least on the real estate market, at 10 million. Well, and I don't know how much renovation it would require or changes to it, but 40 million to get to 50 million would be a lot of changes, a lot of renovation. So that all being said, my question would be, I know back when we did the first referendum, 2019, this is my 8th year on the board, we had safety studies done by, I believe it was, I guess you'd say vendors that were in the safety field. So did they do the district office? And if they did the district office for how it could be improved to be safer, is that the information we're using for this $5 million change or recommended change? And where did this, if that's not what didn't come from them, where did this $5 million project come from?
So to answer your first question, yes, part of the 2019, we brought in a consultant group, and I can't remember their name. It was something along those lines. But they did a study of only schools. We did not ask them to do this building. So that group did not do a safety security study of this building. This was done by an architect that we typically use, and what they looked at was creating an entrance like we have basically in all of our schools. So the entrance we have here is not the same style that we have in our school. So it was to recreate that. And then they also looked at rearranging this building to make it more efficient so we could create some more office spaces, so we could have some of the spaces we think that are needed in this building for it to function better. And then replacing things like windows and floors and ceilings and all that. I will say that within the next year, we're going to have to replace the air conditioning in this building in a majority of it. It's not going to be able to last more than 1 or 2. It's at the end of its life today. I'd say a good port. So that just replacing the air conditioning, if we do nothing else, costs us $18 million. Now, and that's because of some of the things that have happened over the years. OSF has looked at this building and said, if we do anything in here, we have to sprinkler it. The fire marshal is.
So for the public, OSF is Office of School Facilities, and that's a statewide organization?
Correct.
Okay, just want people to understand
And
that.
so they've just looked at any modifications we make to this building. As soon as we modify it or add on to it, we will then be asked to sprinkle the building. So that is included in this number for the safety and security portion. The local fire marshal has also said that we would be required to put a fire loop around it, which would have hydrants in the back of the building. If we do, same thing, if we do anything in this building, they're going to require a fire loop with hydrants in the back. And so that is included in this number, along with a secure vestibule for entrance that is designed very similar to all of our schools.
Okay, so the 5 million includes the vestibule, the sprinkler system that has to be upgraded, and the, like you said, the loop outside the school with hydrants, et cetera, for better fire management if that were to occur.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have some people want to speak again. I know Mr. Smith and then Ms. Boatwright. Go ahead.
I hear what my colleagues are saying today, but the thing that troubles me is this. Not long ago, I believe we sell the building to, if all of us, if a lot of you felt this way, then why did we sell the building to didn't the city of Bluffton? Didn't our old school aren't they not one of our old school buildings or something like that? The city of Bluffton. So I'm just saying why
I don't know what you're talking
Are you
about.
referring to the town of Bluffton?
the town of Bluffton? There you go. Right.
So I don't think we sold the building to them. I don't recall that. I
What
think
building are we talking about?
what town hall?
We didn't sell anything.
Okay. So what was the deal? What did we give it to? Did we lease it?
No, I mean that was many years before I was here.
back a
So
long
it
way.
was yeah, it goes back. Well, Robert, do you know?
I was on the board when we did that. I was on the board when we did that.
That town hall for town of Bluffton.
It was prior to me, so that was done more than 10 years ago. And it was a 99-year lease. They
Yeah, I think it's
asked,
a lease.
The lease.
Is what you're talking
yeah,
about.
and they asked to buy it. And the
Right,
reason
okay.
they wanted to buy it because we own it. It's under the jurisdiction of OSF, and they were about to invest money in that building, and they did not want to have to be under OSF. So that's why they wanted to buy it.
Right. And so when did they buy it? When did
They have not.
Okay, so
we
it's-
own that building.
Right. So it's still on the lease.
Yes, it's still on I don't know what year it's at. It's probably year 75 or 75 years to go, but it's on a 75-year lease to go or something like that.
Okay. And when did we do that? How long ago was that?
It was
we had-
prior to my time, and I've almost been here 13 years. So
I want to say that they redid it here recently, and it came before us because I remember
Yes.
I was in my seat when that came to the board now.
Yes,
So let's be clear about what we.
they asked to buy it. The board did not approve that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the first thing. And the second thing is this right here. When I look at Beaufort as a whole, the county council building is on this side of the Broad. When you go to court, it's on this side of the Broad. So everything else in uniform, the sheriff office is on this side of the Broad. So it seemed like if you were going to town or you're going to take care of business, everything else that you're going to take care of business is on this side of the Broad. So why would we want to change it up? My grandmother said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, I just see I feel like we're kind of pushing agendas. Yeah, my constituents might tell me, Mr. Smith, well, hell, we want to meet no selling. I'm going to tell them no. At the end of the day, it's here, and it's here for a reason. So we're talking about money, and we're talking about, we just had all these referendums. Now we're talking about asking taxpayers for more money. Are we really serious right now about a building versus paying to get the safety and security concern out the way and making it safe? And when worrying about that a little up the road in terms of test scores and focusing on what we're really here for, I'm just a little baffled because I feel that there being a little agenda push right now, and I'm more concerned about what we really have going on. We have some on the agenda upon our school performances. That's more of what I want to hear. This right here is a situation that we're kind of discussing it now. I mean, if this was something that we saw that was fit, then when that conversation came up years ago about giving them or whether they want to buy it, we should kick them out and say, look here, we want to move in the building. That's when we should have been having that conversation. Because back then some people were talking about it then, but obviously it didn't go nowhere. And now we are now revisiting this. Everything's on this side of the Broad. Why should we change it to put things on the other side of the Broad? Because some constituents want things. Heck, my constituents want a lot of things. But the reality is listen, this is the building that we do own. This is the building that we do have. And we just been out there for dang near 2 referendums. If we knew that, why didn't we put in a referendum? Let's not backtrack. Let's move on.
Spelled right.
Madam Chair.
A couple of things. So a couple of things to respond to my colleague. As far as the committee meetings, this is an action item that's coming out of committee. This is not, so this is why I think this should have been brought forward. There are actually the schematics and the drawings from the architect are in this February 2024 presentation. So if you're going to go to the taxpayers and ask for $5 million and you want us to approve it, I feel like this sort of information is useful. I am not in any way, shape, or form opposed to doing necessary security updates, et cetera. But what was presented by Operations Committee or what was brought to Operations Committee was some discussion of the pros and cons, and there are pros and cons. I don't necessarily want to move the office to anywhere closer to Hilton Head. I want it to be in the center. A lot of districts are doing that. They're coming back together. Some of the districts like Bamberg, they're centralizing their services because for my constituents, you brought up the issue of county council. County council has a satellite office in Hilton Head and a fairly large one in Bluffton. So there are definitely satellite offices. And that's something I've brought up before as well, is having a county satellite office so that if the teachers on Hilton Head need to do professional development and there's a wreck on the bridge or there's a traffic, it's not quite as challenging to get over here. I also mentioned at previous meetings that as we developed Highway 170 and this area of Beaufort, the traffic congestion, I drove here today. I don't normally get here at 5 o'clock. So it was a little bit later and school's out. So the bridge wasn't bad. 278 was a disaster. The intersection 278, 170 was a disaster, and 170. And that's going to get tremendously worse. So it's going to continue to get harder and harder for people outside of the district. Another issue is that 70% of the students are on South of the Broad, and more schools and more teachers by quite a bit are in that area. So it makes sense to centralize this. The other thing, as far as like what the county council, we have 3,000 employees, and most of those are employed in Hilton Head and Bluffton. They're employed all over the county, whereas the county has more of a centralized model. So I think that those are I think it's reasonable to consider if there's a cost-effective way to make a more central location and even improve the facilities, because this facility is not well suited for its purpose. It was sort of a, I guess you'd call it a stopgap measure back in 2009. And it does, it needs a lot of work. And I can tell you as someone I don't think Mark Shohan's here, these kind of buildings are not conducive for technology. They're not conducive for Wi-Fi. They're not conducive for Zoom. I mean, there's a lot of improvements that could be made. So the reason I'm bringing it up now is that this was presented. A motion is on the table asking us to approve $5 million as phase 1 of this. The designs are all there. And my point is that I want that presentation made to the board. And we're having a good discussion now. And I think that there is some support for the idea of having a more modern, more contemporary solution in a more central location. And just because I was bored, I did Okatee Elementary School. It's 30 minutes from St. Helena. It's 30 minutes from Whale Branch. It's 30 minutes from Hilton Head. It's very equitable distribution of the county so that if you have people that want to work for the district that live on Hilton Head or Whale Branch or St. Helena, they're not disadvantaged. If you have students that want to come and make public comments, it's easier for them. It's not about my driving. If it's a real problem for me to drive, we can always do Zoom. I don't think that's an issue. But it's really about having equal representation in the district. So, but again, what I want to stress here is the reason I'm bringing it up not is I'm perfectly happy to approve funding for necessary security updates. I don't know if we even go far enough with some of the security updates because we're only talking about the front of the building. We're not talking about doing anything over here. We're not talking about doing anything on this side. And I don't know what our current security arrangements are. I don't know if we have access control at the front or is it just an open door? Do we have a visitor management system? I don't
That's
even know.
something we wouldn't want to discuss either. in
No, I'm
public.
just saying, like, I don't even know where
Yeah.
our starting point is.
Yeah.
So I am, I would feel confident with Mr. Audine and Dr. Rodriguez making a determination of what is the security that's necessary to be done here and upgrading that and moving on that now. And if that's $5 million, I can do that. But I still want to have the conversation about how much money we are going to put, because we're looking at $25+ million into this building. And I don't think when we've spent that $25 million, whether it's on a referendum or an 8% project, that we're going to feel like this is a great spot for meeting.
Madam Chair.
So, yeah, I just want to ask Robert one question, then I'll let you speak again. And then anybody that hasn't spoken, So Robert, you said who was the architect that did this security plan?
Jumper Carter and Cease,
Okay,
his name.
thank you. I don't think you mentioned who it was.
I will
Okay.
say, Carol did correct me, that when the safety and security consultants looked at the district back in 2019, they didn't review this building in specific, but the recommendations they made were for all buildings throughout the district. They made some general things that all buildings should have this. So what we are doing here is in line with the recommendations that they made for all buildings.
Back in 2019, even
Yes,
though they
ma'am.
specifically didn't do this building. Okay.
Correct.
All right, Mr. Dallas, and then anybody who hasn't spoken.
Madam Chair, if you prefer.
speak?
that-
Yeah, go ahead.
If you prefer that those who have not spoken speak first, I'm fine with that, and then I'll speak last.
Okay. There's let's see, Vic, guys that haven't spoken, okay, they're fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so
Go ahead, Dallas. Mr. Dallas.
I'm a little perplexed here how this got sideways, because we had a operations committee where the same comments that are being made in opposition now were made then, and the combined teams have answered those questions. So instead of the 25 million that I'm hearing banded around, it's not that amount. We collectively said no to that and didn't even think about bringing that before the full board. We scaled it back to 5 million of what we thought was essentially the core of what needs to be done. And I wish some of the other board members had been sitting in the room when one of our colleagues first said that the students matter more than the teachers, and seen the look on their face of, because they interpreted that, if you're saying, okay, I don't matter, but and we know there have been a couple of incidences that created a frightful mood within the building. So that's the first thing. It's about safety and security for me. And I think collectively, the groups have done a good job of listening to all the comments and coming back and shaving off almost $20 million, what was an original estimate, because of the real discipline comments and suggestions that were made then. The second thing is, when we say growth is on the 278 corridor, and I distinguish them as 278 corridor and the heritage area. Northern side of the county goes back much further in terms of being active, vibrant, and engaging in terms of an operating government than the 278 corridor. And I don't think we want to trigger an us versus them scenario, because please recall, we lost 2 referendi with about 29% approval before this collegial board came, not this one, not including me, I'm saying the preceding one over the last 5 years or so came into existence. So what our strategic thinking was, let's do the minimum necessary to make sure our employees know we care, we got your back. Let's make sure we don't overinvest. The teams cut out roughly $20 million so that we could go forward, and then with prudence and a very methodical approach, say, where is the best location for a centralized office? All of us can buy into that. So those are 2 points. The last point I want to make, I hear about the growth on the side of the 278 card. That is absolutely true. But as someone who really works in that growth area, I think we are underestimating the growth that is coming to the heritage area. And I think we have to prepare for that. And if the heritage area ever gets some of its prohibitions against density out of the way, that side is going to explode just like the 278 corridor. So being centralized is better. I see no need to actually defer on $5 million when we've asked the public for $439 million. I mean, it's minuscule. So just my 2 cents. As always, I defer to the will of the group.
So we don't have a motion on the table. So Mr. Dallas, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, ma'am, I would. We
Okay.
recommend that the Board of Education approve the fiscal year 2026 8% capital needs by category as presented in an amount not to exceed $43,572,000 using 8% capital funds.
Okay, and the second, thank you, Mr. Dallas, and the second was made by Colonel Guyer. So I think we've already had the discussion. Anybody want to add anything that we haven't already touched upon, Mr. Campbell?
I just want to say this. This, talking about a central office in the middle part of the county, this was discussed back in 2000, year 2000, when we did the referendum. And there was a lot of people upset about it. Even some members on county council was upset about it. Moving the district office in the middle part of the county. The other thing is that we cannot compare our district to Bamberg. Bamberg is not, they don't have that many schools in Bamberg. So, you know, maybe they can change their district. But most of the large districts, the district office is located in one spot, and people go to those meetings if they want to. Look at Charleston. And the thing about it is that the northern part of this county is not just here. It goes all the way to the Collin County line. And we have students that come from there, up near Yamasee, you know. So I would say that we need to take care of what the people in this building now. Thank you.
All right, ready to vote?
ma'am.
Okay. So the motion is printed on the agenda. Okay. It's not displayed on the screen. So all those in favor of approving the motion as Mr. Dallas read and Colonel Guyer second, please say aye. Aye. Online?
Dallas, aye.
Okay, so the motion carries unanimously. So Mr. Dallas, you've got a second motion there.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, colleagues and team. Really appreciate your understanding and your patience with me. I'd like to just briefly speak about this. ACE is one of those unique assets that, as I've discovered more about it and participated more under the tutelage of Mr. Campbell and Colonel Guyer and Mr. Campbell, those two and myself being able to participate, it is truly an asset. It has been underfunded for a significant amount of time. With our county growing, both segments, it really behooves us to improve the physical plant there at ACE. Operations and finance have conducted an assessment, I think about 2 years ago, that totaled $11 million. And finance came back in and said we need to take a look at the technology aspects of it, adding another 2. In meetings that were triggered by Colonel Guyer then as chair and Mr. Campbell as board member of ACE, both county organizations have looked at what the individual contributions would be to cover the full amount. That would be $6.5 million. What we are asking and making a motion is that Beaufort County School District step forward to actually do basically analyze how that would be spent. And I can tell you that collectively, this helps us with maintaining our millage without an increase. It helps us improve the physical plant. And it also helps our colleagues in Jasper who are also looking to pony up and contribute more aggressively than maybe in the past. So that is what this motion is about. I'm very pleased about the collegial aspects of the combined board, both when I first joined, and they're also under the leadership of Dr. Valier and how he's reaching across the line to try to make sure everyone's included. So that's what this is about. It does not request a specific amount or projects. It requests that we enable the superintendent to negotiate capital projects.
So I've got a question for you, Carlton. So I think all of us or most of us certainly attended the joint Jasper Beaufort meeting at ACE, and the dollar amount that was on the paperwork we were provided, I believe was 11 million for what were critical needs there. And then you just said 2 more million for technology needs. So we're talking in that ballpark of 13 million, and we're responsible, so the public knows, the two counties, school boards, districts, excuse me, are split that capital improvements equally. So therefore, if it's about a $13 million need, the our school board district would be responsible for half of that, i.e. about 6.5 million. So is that what you're is that where we are?
That is precisely it, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right.
And I'm happy to read the motion at the appropriate time, ma'am.
So go ahead, and then if there's any other questions, they can be asked after the motion is made and seconded.
We motion that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to negotiate with Jasper County School District the funding of capital projects for the Academy for Career Excellence in amount not to exceed 6.5 million to be funded by fiscal year 2025 excess general fund balance, which helps us with some of the things we've learned about our general fund. That second part is an ad lib.
Okay, so the second was, okay, thank you, Mr. Dallas, and the second was by Mr. Nay. So do we have any further discussion or questions or comments? I know. Can you just read it once again?
Sure. The Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to negotiate with Jasper County School District the funding of capital projects for the Academy for Career Excellence in an amount not to exceed 6.5 million to be funded by fiscal year 2024 excess general fund balance, period.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, no further questions or? Go ahead. Ms. Crosby is at the podium
Yes.
for those online.
Good evening.
Hi.
Mr. Auding and I wrote the motion together. So we are going to have a general fund excess at the end of this fiscal year, which is fiscal year 24. And I think that was my error in the motion. I'd like to edit that to be FY 24 instead of 25. But we do expect, and I've reported to the board a month or two ago, that we do expect about a $15 million excess in fund balance this year, which we will be proposing to move to the capital projects fund. But that is an appropriate source of funding that it could be designated for this purpose. So I just request an FY 24 edit to that motion if we could.
So did you hear that, Mr. Dallas?
Madam Chair, what I read, I think actually said fiscal year 2024, so the correction was made.
Yeah, okay. I thought so, but then I thought, well, maybe I didn't hear right. All right, so it's
problem.
already corrected, but I thank you very much, Tanya, for pointing that out. And so the motion was made correctly, seconded correctly. So ready to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Online?
Dallas, aye.
Hey, aye. All right, the motion carries unanimously. Does that conclude your report, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Dallas?
Yes, ma'am, it does. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. So next on our agenda, we have Technology Committee reporting with Chair Mrs. Boatright.
Thank you. We do have one action coming out of our technology committee. We had a meeting a few weeks ago, and the goal was we've been having some conversations about paperwork in the district and how every school sort of has its own process, and that this can lead to some confusion, some complications. And so there was some talk about starting to look at some of our processes, for example, our athletic paperwork. What's needed if you're going to sign up for a sports team, what paperwork has to be signed, how often it has to be updated, et cetera. And unfortunately, we weren't able to have the full presentation on what a standardized process would look like for athletic paperwork. and also looking at how we could possibly make that something that a parent could go to online, download, even potentially fill out online, and submit. But it did bring forward a really interesting and I think fulsome conversation about the need to standardize some of our processes to create some efficiency in the district. We do a lot of repetitive data entry, and then also to create some cohesiveness in terms of the requirements for different things. And so it kind of morphed into a much more general conversation. And so wanting to have something to actually start looking at this process rather than talking about it, we have a motion, which I can read here. I'll go ahead and read, and then we can have any additional discussion. So the Technology Committee, the Board of Education recommends that the Board of Education to direct the superintendent to evaluate current processes and look for opportunities to standardize and improve data efficiency. And this is meant to be a very general starting point.
Seconded.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Smith. I just wanted to clarify there. This is not like setting out a very specific course of action. This is just to kind of start seeing if the will of the board is to move in this general direction for the district.
So it seems like it's an efficiency motion. Okay. I don't see who would be opposed to that. Okay.
Has it been seconded? I'll second it.
Yeah, it was seconded by Mr. Smith.
Okay, all right.
All right. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
All in favor, please say. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, ma'am, you can go ahead. No problem.
Okay, we're going to vote now. So if you want to comment before we vote.
I just would like to say, I think this is really critically important. I'm in total concert with Ms. Boatwright on this. When you look at standardization, it can make it so much easier in terms of moving talent. People getting up the learning curve a lot easier because basically where possible and appropriate, the same type system would exist in the new location and they wouldn't have to relearn every time they move. So of course, there's some efficiencies that come with that as well. So just want to say I support it and I participate in that technology discussion and I thought it was very fruitful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Online?
Dallas, aye.
Hey, I.
All right. So the motion carries unanimously. Ms. Boatwright, do you have other
The only
reporting?
other thing that I will bring up that we had a discussion on, and that is probably more important to me than anyone else on this board, but since I'm the chair, I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. The esports program and trying to develop that. Right now, it's Mr. Shohan reported it's in 2 high schools and 3 middle schools. And if you look at current trends in education, gamification of education is a big issue, and it also teaches kids a lot of basic technology skills. It's sort of a hands-on learning. And for some kids, if they enjoy video gaming rather than it having being a solo activity, it actually brings them in, teaches them collaboration, strategy. Chess was actually one of the original sort of war games. So it's on that same theme. So we talked about what do we need to do to push esports forward as a program. And it was just a general discussion, but I think that's something I would like to put out there just in general, that I think esports is misunderstood and that it serves an important role, that a lot of schools and colleges are offering scholarships for esports now. And it's something I would like the district to continue to look at. Thank you.
Yes. Colonel Guyer.
I'd like to strongly endorse looking at this type of program. We look for subjects for all of our students. We have sports, we have quiz bowls, we have band, we have drama, but we're losing a bunch of kids that are gamers. And they come home from school and they get on Fortnite and other games. They interact with one another, but they interact from their bedrooms. They interact online with chats and so on, and they lose that face-to-face kind of socialization. We are losing a bunch of kids that way, and it's relatively inexpensive to set up a room in the school like we do for all our clubs, our robotics clubs and other things, to set up a room where they can come together and look at one another in the face, and they can game and they can share and they can learn to socialize. This is a future. There's going to be a lot more of this. And it is something that we should be looking at, to find a topic, a goal, a program for every student that we have in our schools. And this is a good way to do it.
I haven't finished my report, but thank you, Colonel Guyer. And the other thing I wanted to point out too, and the reason this is interesting, is I work in healthcare technology. And if you look at that graduation, what percentage of our graduates are going into healthcare or technology? Those are two future fields. And so at the clinic I work at, when people come in and they're cabling things, they are, booting up an ultrasound machine and doing all the technical back end, I kind of will talk to them. And I always ask, because, on the school board, like, how'd you get into this career? And the consistent theme, a lot of them are military, a lot of them, and that they were gamers. And that's how they got interested in doing this kind of work. And, then they started off at some, then they've moved up, and now they're making great money. They, travel, they're maintaining all this high-end equipment. And that is certainly a growth field. So it is teaching kids things as well. Thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our committee reports. So we now have the superintendent's report. Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. At this time, Dr. Straddle's going to report out on an art showcase that was held and school progress.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. Ms. Molly, are you able to pull up the video, ma'am? I'd like to take a moment to share that on May 30th, we actually had a building full of unbelievably talented young adults, elementary and middle school students, parents, board members, and district staff here to celebrate and actually witness phenomenal live performances. And as you walk through the building this evening, you could actually see some of the fine art that the students prepared. This was our first event that we've had since pre-COVID, and we're hoping to be able to continue this annually. So, Ms. Molly, thank you. We have a quick clip.
Celebrating our talented young artists. Creativity is taking center stage as the Beaufort County School District hosts its first ever district-wide art showcase. From stunning artwork to captivating performances, the event is highlighting the incredible talents of our students.
After seeing all of the fantastic artwork from classroom observations and school walkthroughs and different competitions locally, regionally, and statewide, we figured since the arts are more than just a frosting in Beaufort County, we would love to have one night celebrating them all.
The hallways of the district office have been transformed into a gallery displaying more than 180 pieces of artwork created by students from elementary to high school. The showcase is a great way to highlight how the arts are thriving in our district.
The arts is everything, in my opinion. I mean, from the dancing to the singing to the theater to the art, even though I can't draw, but hey, everything is awesome and you just get to be yourself. And when I do anything art related, any art related activities, I just get to be myself and I'm free. And it just feels like an escape from anything in the world.
I just love the arts whole around. It's really great just for creativity. And I'm so thankful to have a school system that allows us to have those creative freedoms and have those creative sides to our school system.
Several students also stepped into the spotlight with live performances by bands, choruses, and theater students.
Music is just like a beautiful thing that you can do. It's not just a noise, it's like something that can give inspiration at times.
The young artists really enjoyed meeting each other and sharing their love for the arts.
I think it's really cool to see what other people can do. I love seeing other people's talents. It's really cool.
It's good to expose the kids. So from kindergarten all the way up through your senior year of high school, you get to see how the kids perform, what they did, and how they've grown. From being a kindergartner to all the way up to high school.
Yes, Your Highness.
Just for kids to like express themselves and what they want to express. Like if they want something to be known, they can show the whole district and the people who want to see it can see it. The district takes great pride in showcasing the outstanding artistic talents of our students.
The talent in this school district is just off the charts. Not only are our students excelling visually and in the performing arts, we are also tonight celebrating the culinary arts. Not only did these students prepare the work, but they plated it and presented it through the art of presentation. And so this is a holistic celebration of the arts from the food aspect to the performing and visual aspect.
Overall, there were 8 live performances and 187 pieces of artwork on display.
What you want, what you want, what you want.
For the Beaufort County School District, Ron Lopes.
So, Madam Chair, if I may share, one of the most moving moments that evening was listening to one of our great bands from a high school, but actually then watching students from another high school listening and applauding. And basically, I'm going to say it is having the most rolled out young teen event and just cheering each other on. So to see that and to see the performances that our students do, I want to thank the board members who were here that night because I heard some of you singing that evening as well. So with that, if I can go to the next item that we have on the agenda, sir? May I?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So Madam Chair and board members, tonight's presentation was prepared to provide you with the state-required quarterly update of underperforming schools. Joining me in this event of just in case we have additional questions, are Elizabeth Rivera, principal of Joseph Shanklin Elementary, Bradley Terrence, principal of Robert Smalls Leadership Academy, Marva Neal, principal of Whale Branch Elementary. Additionally, joining us are the 3 respective executive directors, Dr. Mona Lisa Dixon, Dr. Chad Cox, and Dr. Celeste Leban. With that, thank you, Ms. Molly. If you may please go to the next slide. I'd like to draw your attention. You have 2 items in your folder. You have the presentation as well as an executive summary. The executive summary was pulled from the South Carolina Department of Education. It gives you brief information regarding the requirements from the state memorandum. There's no action to be taken. As you look at this slide, I'd like you to draw your eyes to the blue. That is actually the state compliance. The model focuses on the leadership that is a technical assistant model from the federal government. And I want us to recognize that the underperforming schools is a state classification, not a federal classification. We are required to have 3 presentations to the board and to monitor. All right. So you can see right there in blue, the underperforming schools. At the crux of this underperforming schools is the continuous improvement model, which focuses on plan, do, checked, act. I want to overlay that with reflect and feedback, because this is what these schools have been doing. If we can go to the next slide, please. These data points, as you do know, that are not SC ready because those data points right now are embargoed. I want you to see that these are I-ready, respectively, reading and math. If you look at the 3rd grade, you'll see from fall to spring, there was a 24-point improvement of students who are what we will recognize as meets or exceeds. From 4th grade, there's a 13-point improvement. 5th grade, a 16-point improvement for this academic school year. Looking at math for Joseph Shanklin, there is a 15-point respective improvement for 3rd grade, 42-point improvement from fall to spring for 4th grade, and a 13-point improvement. Again, these are just diagnostic tools. I cannot bring you the standardized testing yet. I want you to recognize also that some of the areas or work that the school has done. You have bullets on your next slide. It'll be slide 4, please. Thank you. What is key as you review the readings here, you will see that the principal and staff has been working with experts. A commonality you can hear amongst these schools are they are utilizing data to help drive instruction. But I want to be very specific to say that they're utilizing data to meet the needs specifically for the students, not in a collective blanket. One of the wonderful things that Principal Rivera has been doing, if you look down to the 5th bullet, where they are embedding PLCs, but what they're doing is teachers are taking the time to rehearse what the questionings and techniques that they will be doing in their classroom in front of their peers and getting feedback. That is critical for personal growth. And one thing I do have to put forward as well is that Principal Rivera works very closely with a 90-day plan that she continually updates and with the guidance from her executive director. May you go to next slide. As you look at the next slide to the 2nd bullet, one thing that Ms. Rivera has done very specifically for her school is really this past quarter being very specific and prescriptive to meeting the academic needs of her students. They've coined the phrase acceleration blitz in order to push and pull our students to meeting grade level standards. I want to share as well that in collaboration with her school and the ISD division, 35 collective visits were conducted with executive directors and division departments within our district from SPED, special education, and instructional services. So we can go now to Robert Smalls, please. Once again, you'll see same pattern. If we look at 3rd grade, there is an 18-point improvement for reading, 17-point improvement at 4th grade, 21-point at 5th grade in reading. And as we look at math, it goes respectively 26-point improvement from fall to spring, 16-point improvement for 4th grade, and a 21-point improvement from fall to spring at math for Robert Smalls. I will not stand here and read to you the bullets. You'll recognize that the schools are working collaboratively in models that each executive director is building the capacity of our educators as well as our principals. But I do want to highlight something very important with Robert Smalls. As much of the focus at that campus has been data-driven instruction, key to the campus's performance is a school-wide culture that has been built upon leadership amongst the students. And I think that is part of the movement of academics. So I wanted to highlight that as well. Again, this school has had 65 visits of support coming in collaboration with divisions in our district from special education and the instructional services. Our final school for update is Whale Branch Elementary. That'll be at slide 8. So we could take a pause and look at 3rd grade. You had an increase of 28 points from fall to spring. 23 at 4th grade and 11 at 5th grade. And respectively at math, a 37-point increase at 3rd grade, 20-point increase at 4th grade, and 21. These data points are a result of iReady and Ready Math diagnostics. And again, as data points are unembargoed, we'll bring the state standardized testing forward. What you will see with Whale Branch Elementary School, again, PLCs are at the core, using data to drive instruction, taking the time to redefine the pacing and learning for students. I have to share that it has been focused instruction, working in collaboration with the educators, not only in our accountability areas, but great focus as well at our early childhood. And Whale Branch Elementary, we have supported with 85 instructional visits to their campus. These are a quick summary of the work that has gone through for this quarter to share with you regarding our schools. I do want to point out one more important point. If you look at your executive summary, it provides you the dates of when the schools have had their public release and information. All notes and agenda and meeting minutes are on file here at the district. So should the state have any questions, we have all their information as well, ma'am. And that concludes the presentation. I do have representatives from the school should you have specific questions.
Colonel Geyer.
These are some impressive data. Now I need to know from the principals, like the principals would come up and say, how are you going to sustain this improvement?
May I start respectively in the order that it was presented, sir? Thank you. Ms. Rivera, please.
So looking towards sustaining the improvement, especially what we saw in that fourth grade, the fourth grade was very impressive with the over 40% with the math growth. And so what we actually are looking at next year is we made some very strategic, collaborative grade level moves with looking at some of our strongest teachers and having them going and working with the other grades. And so already starting the planning for next year, not sliding back anything. We've already got PLCs planned out, like for like the first semester, we've got like draft plans of everything so that we don't start at the beginning of the school year again. We already know what was successful in those areas this year. We're going to keep doing that and then also adding on to what we need to do to move even further next year. I hope that answered your question.
Mr. Bradley, Terrence, if you can confirm, if I may also add, Colonel Geyer, a lot of what Ms. Rivera has already shared with you is actually in her 90-day plan that's already been developed, including her professional development plan for her campus for next year, sir. Mr. Terrence.
Thank you. I echo what Mr. Rivera said. I think it was much of it is systemic and looking at the systems throughout. And now we've built in the systems and built the content knowledge for tier 1 instruction of our educators have increased significantly with that content knowledge. So they're able to sustain those systems over time as well. And I think this next year is going to be an outstanding year for Robert Smalls and being a designation year. We get to see those systems in work with a new assistant principal as well. And so we get to see the systems continue on with new leadership throughout.
And ditto to what everyone else said. Also, for us, we've definitely been focusing on the 90-day plan. And the new principal will continue focusing on those things in terms of the 90-day plan. And just even in preparation for next year, what we have done this summer so far, we're doing a summer PD. Still working on focus. I'm still trying to build teacher capacity in teachers. We have about 12 teachers participating in summer PD. So we're getting them all ready for next year. So I'm going to just pass that information along.
And board members, if I could make note, this coming academic school year actually is significant for these 3 schools as well as some of our ATSI schools. It is a 3-year cycle. This is the 3rd year. So I do recognize that performance-wise, let's say for Robert Smalls, their performance this year is what will remove you from the underperforming. We are monitoring. We do not have all details yet, but we're monitoring in order to say where we potentially may be. But again, that information is not public at this time. I do want to commend, if I may, the work that the EDs have done with these schools. They have been very close and tight-knitted with these principals, with their 90-day plans, and that has to be shared as well. I do apologize.
Mr. Nay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 questions. First, what is the percentage threshold of students at or above level for a school to come off the underdeveloped designation?
I wish you, go ahead, Doug. Yes, sir.
Great question.
Yeah.
Which can't be answered.
Right.
And the reason is because
you don't like
me. Huh?
Because you don't like me.
No, not at all. I really wish I could give you the answer, but the reason you can't answer it is because it changes really every year, depending on the performance of other schools across the state. And we won't know that till October.
Is there like a ballpark? Like have to be at least, somewhere around 50%, 60%? I mean, is there in your professional experience, is there in a ballpark figure?
So there is ranking that happens. So you look at the
Yeah.
lowest 5%, the lowest 10%. Those percentiles are identified after the academic performance of standardized testing of the students. That's why it's a moving target.
Yeah.
So in all truth, we want to have 75%. Actually, the state is looking at 85% of students to be at or above their grade level. That's the goal. That's
Okay.
what the state wants, sir.
My second question was back on slide 4, I guess, sheltered instruction observation protocol.
At
what
Liz
does that mean?
Rivera's school.
Yes.
Yes, and she has 100% of her staff there. And I thank you for saying that because I wanted to share that she has set a standard. 100% of her school have been trained in what is called sheltered instructional strategies for working with students for acquisition of language. Those strategies also help with regard to students as well who have an IEP. They're just best practice strategies. So not only to hear it, but you want to see it and actually build on the background knowledge of students. That's just a quick summary of practice.
So you'll hear throughout the year different presentations. PSYOP, that's PSYOP.
Yeah.
That's the acronym for it, right? So it's for typically it's multilingual learners. It's a key component of multilingual learner instruction. But the truth is that those strategies are good for all kids.
Thank you for clarifying. I thought you meant psychological operations.
No, that's a difference.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
That concludes our presentation, Madam Chair. Oh, I
Mr. Smith.
apologize, sir.
Quick question. In terms of, I've heard that you mentioned several times, you said that 84 visits. What does that look like? Who are those eight? What does that mean? 84 visits. What does that mean?
Oh,
You know, this is a good time, if you don't mind. Would the EDs come forward, please?
Please.
This time? Might as well. There's various things that take place in those visits. It could be instructional reviews. It could be follow-up to instructional reviews. It could be observation and feedback sessions. But I want to give them each a chance. So whoever goes, just give a couple of samples of what you do. So the first one doesn't say it all for everybody. So each of you get a few things in there on what you do on on visits to school.
Sure, I'll go first and get it out the way. Thank you, board. So part of what we do after we conduct an instructional round is to develop a strategy for the school, as well as KPIs, key performance indicators, to come back and check. So part of those 82 visits are either weekly or biweekly visits where we bring in the school support team from ISD to help check to make sure those strategies are in place.
Dr. Dixon.
Boom. Mic drop. We won't. Next, some of those visits could be basically like PLCs, the professional learning communities, where we go in and with the principal or the AP, we are observing the professional learning communities. We also, through those 84 or something visits, we are observing in classrooms. So we will go with the principal, AP, or instructional coaches into those classrooms. We come back, we debrief, we then give them action steps. As my partner said, key performance indicators, but we give them action steps. And then when we come back to visit them, we reflect on those action steps to see if they have executed. Yes, executed those action steps. And if not, then we reflect on what they need to do to perform those action steps, or if they need additional time. So then when we come back and visit, we investigate to make sure that that is done for those leadership actions.
So I would also say that number that you see, that's not inclusive of our time and visits at the school. And so we, in addition to that, we're a thought partner for the principal. And so when groups are coming in or meeting with them, we help them break down their data, disaggregate their data, and help guide their action steps there. So we help guide the action and help them monitor what is occurring and help make the decisions on when to shift and adjust.
The role of an executive director is a critical role in support of leadership at schools. And it's about building instructional capacity for instructional leadership capacity for our administrators, principals, assistant principals, and also for coaches and instructional coaches and support staff. So they do quite a bit, but one of the key things is this constant monitoring, and which with support, right? So I like to call it the pressure and support, never just pressure, always pressure and support with the right balance.
Thank you. On to my next question. My next question is this exactly. Well, actually, I'll leave it later. In conclusion, I'll just say this. I think the EDs as well, but I'll definitely like to especially thank the principals because of the fact that the pressure's on you. At the end of the day, when we get this notice of underperforming schools, reflects right on you. They're your schools. For you to come up here and own those numbers and then stay in the fight, as a board member, I want to say to you, I really appreciate you. I appreciate all y'all hard work and y'all staff members, because you help those people, those teachers, and hopefully you're giving those teachers the support that they need so that we can change what we currently have. And I wanted to not only thank you, but thank the teachers and the staff members that you have in your building for changing this, because this is not it's the hot box. It gets real. Life be lifing. So I just want to thank y'all for what y'all do and let you know that you are appreciative. And the staff, to you, I appreciate you, Dr. Scraddles, and looking forward to where we go at next with these schools and make sure that we won't have any more moving into that area. Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Oh, and also, Dr. Scraddles, you move quickly into the arts. You know I love the arts. Now, those students, I went to the art show.
Yes, sir.
We kicked butt as the Beaufort County School District
Oh.
at that art show. There was awards giving. I was invited by Mrs. What's her name now?
McKinsey?
Miss Dr. Miss McKinsey.
Yes, sir.
And the people were a little upset. They were wondering why Beaufort County School District getting all these awards. We have some talent in this district, and I don't want that to go unnoticed. In terms of what you see on the wall, we have some kids who they talk about that the gaming. We got some kids who do some serious art in this district at a young age. So please, let's not overlook that. And we really appreciate that, because it's not easy putting a piece of art on this wall. So I definitely want to applaud them too as well. Thank you, Doc. That's all I got
Yes,
for you.
sir. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, next up, we have the budget update.
Good evening, once again. I just want to give a brief update. We are actually have achieved our second reading of the budget with County Council on Monday evening. That was voted on and unanimously approved in second reading on consent agenda. So the final date of the third reading has been changed. It is typically on a Monday, but there is a special called meeting for budget items that will be on Thursday, June 27th. So it is the 27th. I hope I have Thursday right. But so that, and I do expect it to be on third reading once again. And there will be public comment period, public hearing that will be available. Basically, they stop the meeting and have a public comment period available for constituents as well. And that meets there's a 15-day requirement for advertisement of all of the millage rates and the budgets. Must be printed in the newspapers 15 days in advance. So that will meet those requirements. So we're well underway for an approved budget, and we do anticipate a smooth ending to the budget process on the 27th. So.
Yeah, Colonel Geyer.
I heard from Miss Walton that we no longer lead the state in starting teacher salary. Could you comment?
Yes, and I touched on it briefly during the budget presentations that the district to watch was Charleston County School District. Ms. Walton and I talked about it, and I actually went online and looked at some of their budget presentations. So they are increasing over $5,000 to
I think it's 8.
$8,000, excuse me. Yes, a significant increase, and can't quote the exact dollar amount. Ours will be 51,066, I believe it is. Theirs is substantially several thousand more than that. So which will put them at number one in the state most likely.
I think their board last night voted the 8,000, and I think that's their first reading. So that was last.
Yes. So anticipate that tax revenue must be very good in Charleston County.
Thank you.
They are, I did read also that they are increasing millage. So there is a millage increase involved in that as well. So.
All right, next we need, thank you, Tanya. Next, we need a motion for the consent agenda approval.
So move, Madam Chair.
All right.
Second.
Motion made by Secretary Middleton and second by Vice Chair Colonel Guyer. So all in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Online?
Dallas, aye.
Hey, aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? All right, which way did you vote? Okay, so the consent agenda is unanimous approval. All right, for future agenda topics, we've already had the long, I guess the discussion. One should be the future of the DESC, correct, Miss Boatright? Yeah. All right, any other? Mr. Smith?
Yes, but my technology fees in the district.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Any
I'd
other?
like to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to possibly have a discussion at some point in time about discipline in various facets of student life, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I would like to have a update from the new director of Right Choices to tell us about what he's doing and his plan.
Okay. That's several good recommendations right there, 4 of them. Okay. All right. Dr. Rodriguez, do you have any announcements?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next, we have our second public comments. And so first will be Mr. Jim Miller. And his topic is value of music education. And let me just remind you that you have just 3 minutes and there's going to be a timer. And when the 3 minutes are up, your time is up. And please be respectful. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just hold on a second. Let her, because she's going to start the timer
Okay.
for you.
If I could, before the timer starts, I would like to comment with a comment that Dr. Stratus made about the showcase of the arts. She made a comment that during the band presentation, I was there and during that band presentation, many students that were previously there, she made a comment, they really enjoyed that.
Nice.
And I appreciate that. Now, if I
Okay.
feel
now,
free,
go ahead and
but I
start the time.
thank you much.
All right, so we're ready to do your comments.
Okay. First of all, I want to express my not concern, But let me start it this way. There's two things I want to talk about tonight. That first, a little bit about myself and my involvement with the band programs. And number two, how important music education is to the academic world. And so first, let me say that I got involved. As you see, I consider myself a gray-haired retread band parent. I'm not a musician. I'm not an art thing. I'm a data person. And I got involved 10 years ago when my son, Colonel, was a ROTC, got out, officer, got out, and he always wanted to teach high school social studies. That occurred 10 years ago, and he came home and he didn't have the background of education. He just had history, but he had been a percussionist in a drum corps. And he got his master's in education by living with us. And then he, during his practice teaching, he became involved and volunteered with the local band where he was practice teaching was Bluffton High. And with that, he came home one day and he said, "Dad, there's got to be a morning after, and there's got to be some parents. I don't have enough parents to help me on the thing." Now, I see my timing is getting short. I would like to mention, and I'll come back at another time and give you a study that was done by the British Columbia on how important music education is. And they showed that a thoroughly involved music education student outperformed what you expected by a full grade level. Now, my time is up. I'll come back at another time and give you the facts on that, because that is an impressive study of over 110,000 students. Thank you, madam.
And thank you for your comments. You're also free to email that to us too, if you have that ready.
I will. It is a study and printed in a journal of educational psychology. I'll give you the reference. It's about a 40, 50 page document. Thank you much.
All right, next up, we have Christina Washington, who will speak on school fees.
You left your phone.
Oh, thank you much.
Good evening. Do you owe any money? Dr. Rodriguez, any of the board members here? Have any debts, credit card debts, car loan? What if I told you that you weren't eligible to be a school board member because of those debts? Or that you couldn't participate in certain social activities because of that debt? Now imagine you're an 8th grade child who's just earned your way into high school in debt with your public school system because a friend knocked over your laptop and broke your screen. Or you left your laptop on the floor with the other kids and someone you didn't see who kicked it across the hallway and you didn't notice the cracks until you got home. No one to blame but you. Now your public school is emailing your parents every other day about those debts, sending home notices on brightly colored paper like this with your debts listed for everybody to see in school. Teachers are coming up to you in class to remind you of the hundreds of dollars that you owe or else risk missing out on once-in-a-lifetime milestones. You're turned away from the door when trying to go to your final middle school dance because of those fees. Then you can't walk across the promotion stage with your classmates on that day they told you you earned. Your name won't even appear on the graduation program list. This is happening to Beaufort County students, and I was witness to all of these actions, which happened to my son and his friends at Ladies Island Middle School. You were there, Ms. Gordon, Mr. Smith, and Colonel Geyer. You looked into those kids' disappointed eyes as I pointed them out to you at the graduation last Tuesday, where you told me there was nothing you could do to change the situation for those children. As much as I was overjoyed to see my son walk across the stage, I was disgusted, sick to my stomach, sitting next to his friends who were not able to. Watching them sitting by themselves on the bleachers soured the entire experience for me. We paid the $836 bill plus over $30 in service fees to watch our son walk across the stage. One of his friends owes over $400 in fees. He told me at the promotion that he was working on a payment plan that would see him complete payment on his current fees by sophomore year of high school. I asked them to come speak to you today about their experience, but they're not here because they're embarrassed, shamed by their own school. With the rising cost of everything else in the world, now kids have to worry about supposed free education being another one of them. And to this I say, how? How could you sign off on our children graduating 8th grade in debt, contemplating this before they even qualify for a job? And how could you do it in the name of money in a public school system? What kind of messaging are we giving to our children when we show we value money over education? Just over 50% of our kids meet
Okay,
the basic
thank you. Your
requirements
time
for
is up,
reading and
Ms.
writing.
Washington.
So why are these kids not able to walk across the stage and being discriminated against because of fees?
All right. That seems to be the end of tonight's agenda, so we can adjourn by unanimous consent if there are no objections. And thank you for everyone in attendance.
Thanks, everybody.